she has been so hurt. Just take a look at the climate. The heat is rising, affecting the sea. The temperature's climbing to the hottest degree. We see a rise in activities, the droughts, the rain, and poverty.
Land and ocean species, they are decreasing. Some are migrating for better living.
It should be disturbing for all to see how this global warming affects you and me.
We can save the earth if we just come together and make it better. We can save the earth if we just come together and make it better.
We can save this world, we can save this world. Don't let it fall, came from the same river. Don't let it
Green energy reduce carbon emissions. Solar, wind, bio, hydro, geothermal. Cut down the use of single-use plastics. Reduce and reuse should be our main practice. True. Don't kill the trees, we need the oxygen. Stop dumping waste into our oceans. Then pollution needs a solution. Let's save the earth for future generations.
We can save the earth if we just come together and make it better. We can save the earth if we just come together and make it better. Let's bathe in the rivers and dance in the sun. Enjoy our blessings from the one up above. From the top of the mountains to the depths of our seas. Let's protect this world for you and me. We can save the earth if we just come together and make it better. We can save the earth if we just come together and make it better. We can save the earth if we just come together and make it better. We can save the earth if we just come together and make it better. We can save the earth. We can save the earth.
We can save the world.
Wonderful. Welcome to the 7th online regional event of the Caribbean Tree Planting Week. I'm Rosalie Hamilton, Chair of the Caribbean Philanthropic Alliance. You know, this Caribbean Tree Planting Week is organized by the Caribbean Philanthropic Alliance and our partners with the objective to build public awareness about the importance of planting trees to our environment and our culture. Given our mission to accelerate the achievements of the Sustainable Development Goals, we also want to highlight how tree planting can contribute to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals in our region. I'm so excited about this event, Empowered Women and Trees. Wow. This will highlight the link between tree planting and empowering women to address the gender gap that persists. Yes, tree planting contributes to gender equality, SDG 5. And to do this, more women must become agripreneurs, entrepreneurs in the agricultural space doing agricultural-related activities. More women must join the process of creating innovative, competitive, agricultural tree-related products that can effectively compete, not just here in the region, not just within the Caribbean markets, but across the world. As competition intensifies across the world, it is imperative that we do this, and it is imperative for empowerment. Now, we have a phenomenal empowered woman to lead us through this process, and I am so pleased to introduce to you Professor Grethel Radford. Now, she's a professor of psychology and counseling at Washington Adventist University in Maryland in the US. And she's been an educator for 40 years. She doesn't look it, but 40 years, and a certified adolescent and child trauma professional. She has a passion for empowering women and children and has conducted several workshops related to gender-based issues and child development. She loves nature and home gardening, and most of all, she's just a wonderful, caring human being. Over to you, Professor Bradford. You're on mic, you're on mute. You have to take off your mic.
Myself, please forgive me for that. It is a pleasure to be here, Rosalia. It's really a joy to be here in the presence of these women. And you know, you mentioned as a psychologist, you know, it's about empowering individuals. It's about empowering women, children, or just our entire society. And so it's really a joy for me to be here. You know, the interesting thing is that planting trees have been a source of empowerment for women across centuries and across geographical boundaries. We cannot say no to that. Women, in fact, have used trees as instruments for change at all areas in our lives, at the personal level, at the communal level, at the national, as well as the global levels. So when we look at it, we can see that women have played such a central part in just making our earth a better place by providing food, by providing shelter, and just taking care of us. Today, in fact, we have 4 of our phenomenal women from the Caribbean who have in fact been working with trees. So we wish to spotlight them today. They are presently using the fields that they have and the resources that they have to shape our present and our future. They have vested their time, their energy, and all their resources in creating development in the Caribbean. More importantly, they are here to share with us the ways in which women continue to play, and will continue to play a pivotal role in sustaining our plants and evidently our world. At a time when peoples in the Caribbean are battered by the COVID pandemic and, you know, they don't know where to go, it is even more urgent that our leading women show other women how they can be a part of the solution, how they can, in fact, be able to focus on something that will build the world, that will build their country, build their community, and therefore help in the sustaining of our planet. So my pleasure then really is to introduce these women. The first woman that I would love to introduce you to is Marisol. And Marisol Villalobos Amazar is from Puerto Rico. And I have been struggling to say this word, but I'm going to try. She is a microbiologist. She is the founder and board member of Agro Empresario de Puerto Rico, a set of women farmers, and they are doing excellent work in Puerto Rico. So what I will do now is hand over to Marisol, and she will tell you all the wonderful work that she has been doing with plants and trees.
Good morning to all. Thank you. This is an honor for me to be participating of, I would say, maybe a dream come true. I believe that women are doing marvelous things from every point that they're at, and then through farming and with trees, It's beautiful what we're trying to accomplish as a community. So again, thank you for the invitation and really honored to be here. So Gretel, thank you for that introduction. I don't think I have to say much more. I'm an agribusiness lady, that's it. And we're trying to contribute positively to food security in a sustainable way and in harmony with Mother Earth. So basically that's our mission in Amasar, which is the agribusiness that we founded here in Puerto Rico. So just a quick view of what we're doing to all. Can you see my screen? Okay,
Yes.
so we're located in the high mountains of Puerto Rico, and we have 550 breadfruit trees already. And we're trying to do value added with 550 breadfruit trees that we'll begin producing. And we also purchase breadfruit from other small farmers. So this is my husband and I, and we say hola in Spanish to everyone, and we're very honored again to be, I don't know if there are other Spanish speaking countries participating, but yeah, we have all to get together, especially in the Caribbean, where we share so much history and so much common ground. So we say in Amasar, come bien, vive feliz, which is eat well, live happy, and breadfruit is protagonist in our mission and in our enterprise. So what we vision is that Amasar, we hope that those we serve understand the benefits of healthy eating. As a mother of three, we're very committed to that. And also embrace all those agricultural efforts to have responsible and sustainable food. I think it's very important to put these two things together. Our business model, we've tried to build it right from scratch, being sustainable since day one, but the magic begins in the farm with the agroforestry and agroecological practices we use. We've been able, with a lot of creativity, hard work, innovation, to build up that manufacturing site where we have already that process where we can put that value added with the superfood, breadfruit, into products that are convenient and offer a beautiful service to our clients because they nurture them, they give them nutrition, but they taste delicious. But then everything we're trying to do is in respect for the environment and also in fair trade with our fellow farmers. Again, that objective, food security in Puerto Rico, as an island, we're importing 90% of what we eat, and that has to go down. We have to produce more, and breadfruit definitely has a lot to offer. So with beautiful coalitions like the ones we've established with Trees That Feed Foundation that you all know, I'm sure Mary McLaughlin and Mike McLaughlin, we're trying to promote loving and regrowing our planet with breadfruit right from Puerto Rico. Just begin and spread it out, and then with all these beautiful things that are occurring in the Caribbean with Tree Planting Week as you are celebrating. And we're focusing on having that holistic view that we're like focusing on three main aspects: maintaining that nature and sustainable practices. With all that we're doing in the farm, we're doing renewable energy, we use rainfall water, we do not use pesticides. But then we're also working with women, with other women as myself, that are encouraged, that want to contribute in another way. So we're encouraging them to work and grow more breadfruit in their farms. And we're doing a nice job there. So they're very interested in having more organized breadfruit crops in their farms. And then we're also working with that circular economy, right? We're building up, we're working with other small farmers, we're working with 3 schools. We adopted these 3 public schools and we showed them, we gave them breadfruit trees, they planted them, and we are already purchasing breadfruit from one of these schools. So that circular economy and building it up, it's responsible of every enterprise. And we're trying to prove that it can be done. So here's a little peek of our farm. And again, breadfruit is protagonist. We have cocoa trees, we have coffee trees, we have citrus, avocados, we have soursop, so a lot, plantains, and everything is growing together beautifully in harmony with the planet and building up strong crops in everything, but basically the protagonist breadfruit. And that social transformation we're trying to achieve education is key. I don't know if you mentioned it, Gretel, but I'm an educator. That's what really drives me. And I know how important it is to put that education in these generations to come. So again, what we're doing with all these schools and everyone that visits our farm is educating them on the importance of having these practices, sustainable practices, and how they can contribute. So basically, this is a wrap up of what we're doing in Amasad. Breadfruit is key. Breadfruit has a lot to offer, especially in all these Caribbean countries. So we thank Trees That Feed Foundation that has been key. The Department of Agriculture here in Puerto Rico is contributing immensely with our project, and also World Central Kitchen. So again, it's building up these strategic allegiances, coalitions, and unities. And I'm sure that more things will happen with other countries of the Caribbean and Puerto Rico. So thank you very much. Check us out on our webpage and subscribe. So Gretel, if you have more questions, we're more than happy to answer those.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much, Marisol. We will have questions for you later on, okay? I am sure that we will have some questions for you. The next person we have to talk about the wonderful work she is doing is Carleen Johnson. Carleen is a farmer, and she is from Kingston Town, St. Catherine in Jamaica. She is doing awesome work with bananas, with making treats, and just making sure that we eat healthily. Carleen, please tell us about the work you're doing.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me on this wonderful panel with all these empowered and powerful women. Now, I am a former teacher, and I have been working with students for a number of years. Now, you might say, how does students and working in the classroom with nothing to do with trees, per se, I'm a literature teacher, how does this factor into everything? But as I look around and I assess, and I interacted with my students over the years, I realized that we have been taking our environment, we have been taking our trees, we have been taking many things for granted. If our products do not come in by our ports in very pretty packages, then there are no takers for our products. So I have a saying, pretty packages sell stuff. So if I want our children to eat healthily, then we need to package our products in beautiful packages and encourage them to eat healthy. Now, why I'm stressing eating healthy, a number of these students would come before me and they would be hungry. And I know that when you're hungry, learning is not something that readily happens. And if we have poor nutrition, then learning again is impeded. And around us, we have so many trees, especially in the area that I worked. There were breadfruit just falling off the trees, going to waste. The pigs and other animals, they consumed the majority. We only knew breadfruit as roast, fry, and boiled. And the idea came up, why not do something with what we have to bring a sense of autonomy to ourselves. There are persons who struggled within their homes. Mothers can't feed their children. And the idea was birthed. We need to do something with what we have. And initially, the idea was to demonstrate to the students, this is how we can be self-sustaining, this is how we can be autonomous, this is how we can be innovative. Let's use what we have and create something. And from that, I went to the kitchen and the breadfruit oatmeal cookies emerged. So these are breadfruit oatmeal cookies. And my company is a spin-off of this, going to the kitchen and being innovative. Our Jamaican and Caribbean women have had to be innovative. We have had to, as the Jamaicans saying, take what you have and make something else, you know the saying. So suck salt through wooden spoon and all of those different things. And there are so many innovative ways we can take one item and make it into a myriad of things. And as Marisol pointed out, breadfruit for her came up as one of the focus. And for us too, breadfruit came in. Breadfruit came in because I met members of the Trees That Feed Foundation, and they said, have you considered breadfruit? I was considering a number of trees. I was considering mangoes. Mangoes go to waste every year in large volume. And what do? We scrape them up and we dump them. We eat what we can and we get rid of the others. I hope you're hearing me. So what we do with the excess. So that was where the drive came to go and do something. How can we manage excess? How can we manage excess? Now, when you go into production, though you might have a number of things going to waste, there is no structure in our system where we have people putting in orchards where we can reap and get all of these things to put together. And that is one of the passion I have. How can we get women, how can we get different persons to create orchards, to create the source for the raw material? Because the world is clamoring for Jamaican products. The world is clamoring for Caribbean, authentic Caribbean products that are the mind child of local people who know how to use these products. And one of the challenges, and I just mentioned one of the challenges that there are stigmas out there. There are stigmas out there from our own people. Do we go for these things? Remember, I mentioned that pretty packaging and how if it's not branded with a foreign label, sometimes we are not quick to grab it as our own local people. So the idea is, let us educate our people. Let us get them to have a sense of pride for what is Jamaican and go forward. To date, very small company, very small, just recently started back in the last 3 months. But so far, the cookies are in the progressive stores and in a number of supermarkets, and people are getting to warm up to the products. And with the warming up to the products, there's also now a reduction in the cutting down of the trees, because we had faced that. A number of persons in the certain parts of the country, they said that breadfruit normally goes to waste, so they were cutting down the trees. They were not seeing an economical value. And that is something I want to spread the message about for our women. There is economical value in things that are growing right around you. And the breadfruit tree is one that not only lumber, not only the new medicinal value, but even the fruit, even the ripe fruit that we normally waste, there is value in that. So that's the aim. Add value to the lives of people, add value to the products that we have, and basically just keep on adding value. Thank you.
Thank you, Carleen. That was awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, you see what we have going here. Should we continue? I think we should. Right, Mary? I think we should. I am so excited about hearing the things that you have done and the things that you are doing. So now we will go to the next empowered woman, Jerry Kelly. Jerry joins us from the Bahamas. She is a lecturer and she is also interested. Her passion is really in farming, and she is all about food reformation. Jerry, tell us what you do.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me on this panel. It is a pleasure to be with you all, beautiful women, and to speak about agriculture, trees, importantly, as well as food security. I am Jerry Kelly. Currently, I am the Agricultural Program Officer at the Ministry of Agriculture and Marine Resources here in the Bahamas. And it's been a wonderful experience to work with the government to ensure that we can empower women through food production, through agribusiness, as well as even tree planting. So I just want to quickly speak on the tree planting initiatives that we are conducting this week. Special thanks and gratitude to the Trees That Feed Foundation Mary, we thank you. We appreciate you for springing into action and supporting the Bahamas in getting our feedback following the hurricane. So the foundation donated about 1,000 breadfruit trees to the Bahamas, and that was just an incredible donation that we were very thankful for. We would have received these trees in February and have grown them, and it just was very timely that we are now planting and distributing them throughout the various islands. Particularly this week, we kickstarted the week with about 400 plants being distributed within Grand Bahama. The way in which we want to engage the community is that we had promoted it. We promoted the tree planting week this week and asked different social clubs, churches, schools, particularly, to be involved, to be the helping hands. That way, we get persons to understand the importance of trees, to learn about the reason why we need them, particularly for food, but also for biodiversity, to ensure that we can reduce the greenhouse emissions as well, and to protect our ecosystems. That is the message that we're trying to get out today. And we've had resounding support from the community members. Even our team at the department is headed by Quinta Forbes, a female, and she's dynamic. She's on the ground. I'm not sure if she's in with us today, but I know that she is spearheading the women at the department in sending out these plants. So I just wanted to express my gratitude in this work. These plants, as I mentioned, will be planted in the rural areas throughout the island. Following Hurricane Dorian, Grand Bahama in particular and Abaco was very devastated, and we lost a lot of trees. The landscape became very bare and depressing to a point. So to have these breadfruits to be planted in areas that are now food deserts, where it's difficult to obtain fresh fruits and vegetables, especially now that we're in the summer season, persons who would have been accustomed to going in their yards to pick fruits and to enjoy this summer bliss, they don't have that opportunity. So now we are hoping that in a few years, when these plants are grown, they can enjoy this and even sustain themselves. So that is one aspect. And I know my time is a bit going, but I do want to mention that in promoting this initiative, and having the different social clubs being a part of it, there was a female who reached out to the department and inquired about how can she be engaged. She is a young mother, new family, but she wants more for her family. She has a degree in biology, but she wants to be a farmer. She want to know how can she be a part of such a movement. How can she help with the feeding of her kids and her family? So I told her simply, let's begin with a tree. Let's begin with a plant and just continue to be engaged, because this is a movement. I want you all to believe that this is a movement for women to become more independent in themselves. And as Caroline said, even reaching out to school kids, adding value, making them become more healthy and knowledgeable about trees and their importance. And we see it in Jamaica, we see it in Puerto Rico. It's just those two, you guys have inspired me to continue with this initiative and to carry it a step forward. I hope that we can further the collaborations and possibly do study tours and bring it to the Bahamas, Puerto Rico, and really ignite this network. My colleague, Dr. Singh, we work ministry and Cardi together, and she has been doing epic work within the Southern Bahamas on the Casarella bark and the women down in Long Island, and Acklands, sorry, and empowering them to have their own business. but she will speak more on this. And I thank you so much for allowing me to be a part. And I just hope that this is the beginning of a transition for true food security and sovereignty, and just a movement towards good health. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jerry. You know, so far, ladies and gentlemen, I have heard I've taken away a few key things, right? While Dr. Singh is setting up her thing, I heard from Marisol, the cycle of life. Women are engaging in the cycle of life. We are honoring that. I heard from Carly, Tonya Hanna, and Meg Fashion. You know, women are capable of just going out there and taking things and creating things out of it. You know, they have this saying that you give a woman one thing, she comes with 10. And that's what these women are doing. I'm hearing Jerry say, guess what, people? This is a movement. It's not just something that we are just kind of like coming up with. We've been doing this for a long, long time. And so we are moving, and watch us move. Now I am going to turn over to Dr. Michelle Singh, who will continue to show us how wonderfully these women are working in terms of our plants and our trees.
All right, good morning, everyone. Sorry for that little glitch where I shared my screen before it was my turn. But I wanted to highlight some things that were very, very critical and put some perspective into the importance and significance of trees that feed and women and trees. So I wanted to share some data with you that is very, very relevant, particularly to the Bahamas, where we are seeing an increase in about 75% in non-communicable diseases. And those diseases include hypertension, diabetes, cardiovascular disease. And right now in the Bahamas, about 74% of all deaths can be attributed to non-communicable diseases. These are particularly related to diet. And in Nassau, where a survey was conducted, we see that about 70% of those persons surveyed were overweight or obese. 47% did not eat at least one fruit per day. 51% didn't eat vegetables. And 1/3 of the population in Nassau had at least 2 servings of fast food per week. Of course, that is going to be reflected in the health of the population, where we see a 7% diagnosed with diabetes, 26% with elevated blood pressure, and 21% with high blood pressure. So almost 2/3 of the NCDs are linked to other factors, but the one I wish to highlight is unhealthy eating. And unhealthy eating comes from not having a plate looking as beautiful as this. And you may ask yourselves, what does trees that feed have to do with chronic non-communicable diseases? Well, the fact is that breadfruit is a complex carbohydrate, all right? We are totally dependent on a very, very small portion of the available genetics on this earth. 90% of our meat only come from 5 species. 80% of the food that we consume is only limited to 6 particular grains, you know, rice, corn, wheat, beans, which means as a region, we are totally dependent. I want to bring to you a word that I am trying to get into a literature, and it is food sovereignty. We're all familiar with what food security is, and food security is really access by all to food. And I'll give the example of what happened in Dominica after the last hurricane. Dominica actually received tons of donations of food, but the food was not palatable to the people because they crave their native foods, be it sweet potato, breadfruit, cassava. And that's when we talk about food sovereignty, and it's the right of peoples to healthy, culturally appropriate food produced through ecologically sound and sustainable methods. And it is the right of the people to define their own food and their own agriculture systems. So let's go back to what we talk about when we talk about non-communicable diseases. When we talk about carbohydrates, carbohydrates can be sourced from complex or simple sources. And more, the literature is saying we need to include more complex carbohydrates in your diet as opposed to the simple carbohydrates that we are used to. White flour, pasta, bread, rice are all simple carbohydrates and lead to a spike in your blood glucose level. Whereas the consumption of complex carbohydrates allows your body to slow release over time, making you less susceptible to becoming pre-diabetic. All right. And if you look on this picture, you'll see sweet potato, which is not really a tree, but we can substitute it with breadfruit. Some of the others would include the crops that we have right in our backyard. And I am saying to Caribbean people, let us go back to our roots. Yes, we talk about trees that feed, and technically all of these come from plants, all right? So I'm going to go into this slide here and highlight to you the importance of consuming what we have in our backyard and not allow our diets and ultimately our health to be dictated by other sources other than what is native to our region, which is really the healthier option and the healthier foods to eat. And as women, we have in our remit the power to feed our families. Are we going to feed our families from trees that feed, that we grow in our backyards? Or are we going to feed our families with the imported simple carbohydrates that drain our economies from food imports annually? And more, COVID is proving to us the absolute need to focus on alternative sources of carbohydrates, and breadfruit and bananas and all of those good stuff that we have in our backyard that are traditionally termed poor people food are really those foods that can save us and save our families. And I applaud all of the women who spoke before me who have taken up the mantle of using breadfruit and other native foods to include as value-added products so we make it as available as the imported sources of carbohydrates. So now it's that much easier to source a breadfruit flour or a breadfruit pasta or some alternative breadfruit or green banana, whatever it is, as easy as it is to buy a bag of rice off of the shelves. And with that, I want to leave you with the word food sovereignty. It is our right to choose the foods we wish to eat. And as women, it is our duty to feed our families using trees that feed. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. Thank you. That was awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, you see what we're talking about, right? So the fourth thing that I want to walk away with for me actually is sovereignty, food sovereignty. We have what it takes to feed our people. There is no doubt about that. We have it in our backyards. We have it, you just drive along the road and you see all these trees, and many of us do not seem to realize that we have everything at our disposal to feed our family. And what these women are doing is they are in fact showing us that we can feed our family, and we can in fact not just feed our family, but we can thrive as well. And so what I wanted to do now is I'm going to ask you ladies some questions. We have now entered into the question and answer section. And I am going to throw the first question out to Marisol. Marisol, I know that you have farmers in your community, and there are women farmers out there. What would you say to the average woman out there who has heard of what you're doing, but does not necessarily know how to become a part of your process, how to become more empowered? What would you say that they would need to do?
Well, first, I would say that you have to check what do you have available near you. I mean, organizations, maybe some government offices. For example, here in Puerto Rico, we have the Department of Agriculture. So many women can go there for some guidance in the beginning. But there are also many organizations like the ones that we're building up in Puerto Rico, which is Agroempresarias de Puerto Rico. And the thing about these new organizations is that they're so supportive, Gretel. They're helping so many, women out there, wholehearted, giving all the information they need, sharing lots of that are available and information, general information. Sometimes it's just about where do I get the supplies? Where do I get the trees? Where do I get fertilizers that are organic? And all these questions arise. So these groups support each other. And I think that's very interesting. And I encourage Jamaica, I encourage Bahamas, I encourage Belize. I got a question from Belize, to build up these groups that can help us all. And then women are characteristic because we give like so wholehearted, and that's important. We don't, at least here in Puerto Rico, we're trying to focus on not seeing each other as competition. Otherwise, see each other as building up a stronger community in agriculture with these trees that feed. And I hope for more. I hope for the whole Caribbean, we can be blessed by uniting and by bringing up these crops that will not only feed our countries, will help us feed maybe other areas as well.
Okay, thank you, Marisol. Very good, absolutely wonderful. Carleen, I have a question for you. You said you're a school teacher turned farmer, or farmer/school teacher, right? Now, my question to you is, I am a young lady and I have just graduated from college. I have spent a lot of money on my education, right? But I am interested in just feeding my people, just feeding and entering this fantastic business that you all talk about. What would your advice be to this person who, one, might have some student loans out there to pay, but also have the dream of taking care of the earth and her family?
Okay, that's a packed question. So
yes.
There are responsibilities that are weighing down these women, and they need an avenue to get out. So that's what I'm getting from your question. Now, as I have said before, with the trees, we're surrounded by trees in the Caribbean. We're surrounded by nutritious foods that, please excuse the knocking. So we're surrounded by trees, we're surrounded by nutrition that is already prepackaged. How do these women get those prepackaged things out into the wider world? And that's how I'm going to take that question. Our economy is driven by supply and demand. And one of the things I have found is that we need to generate demand. We need to generate a wanting for our products. So I would say to these women, create something and go out there, introduce it, and create a buzz about it. Create a stir about it so that the people will want it. Because if nobody wants it, then your product is going to sit there. And one of the things is your product might be very, very good. It might be good. So the women might go and they might create something and it's very good. But if you don't go out there and pass the fair, because I'll talk about some of the hindrances, and fear is one of them. Fear of going out there and meeting the public, fear of going out there and hearing that I do not like your product. And you might say, okay, this one person doesn't like it, so that is the end of it for me. So it's a holistic thing. So you're developing your product. You are developing yourself because you first have to build up your confidence and you have to believe in what you have created, and then go out there and create a buzz about what you want. And in so doing, what you're doing, you're creating a demand, and then you can supply it. So that's one of the things I would say to our women: create something and believe in it so much that you can go out there and sell it to others, sell the idea to them, and then they will receive your product. And so the economy will be birthed and it will grow, and then it will blossom, and then the revenues will come, and then you can pay the student loan at the end of that.
Thank you. I was listening for that part because, you know, very often we spend so much time thinking about all the debt that we have to pay back. And I think if women can see that, look, if you take the initiative and you sort of step out there, then, you know, the student loans and all those expenses will get taken care of. But, you know, I saw something, you know, that just a part of what you were saying, the term think outside the box. And I'm going to ask, first of all, Dr. Singh to tell me, how can women think outside the box and make this happen?
Well, it is in our nature to do just that. Thinking outside of the box comes naturally to a woman, because when the day reaches and you are unable to go to the grocery, you are still able to feed your family. And that is what we call thinking outside of the box, because there is very little you can do if there is no support. However, when we talk about health and nutrition and the role of a woman and the function of a female in a house, we have what it takes to do whatever. And that is the definition of thinking outside of the box. So as Colleen said, traditionally we know breadfruit to be roasted, boiled, or fried. And look at what thinking outside of the box has done to empower so many women. We have found a way to capitalize on a commodity that would otherwise be thrown away. All right. And thinking outside the box comes with reading, it comes with speaking with beautiful people such as those in this forum, it comes from education. And without that little bit of support, we will be stifled, you know. But women have the gift of gab. So I'll probably talk to my neighbor who's from a different country, and she will say, well, in Trinidad, we use it for blah, blah, blah. In Trinidad, we use breadfruit peels to make feed for chickens. And I'd say in the Bahamas, oh, wow, with all of these breadfruit trees coming to the Bahamas, there's going to be an increase in breadfruit peels. Maybe it's time to think about a downstream industry, you know? So we need to have these types of conversations. We need to be linked to each other, because my thoughts could probably give impetus to somebody else's next business. You understand? And I firmly believe that what we are doing is powerful. So powerful that I want Marisol and Colleen and all of the other women here to think about breadfruit, gluten-free baby food so we could stop importing Gerber. I want us to, you saw that the breadfruit vodka is out. I want us to think about using breadfruit leaves and running it over the fire to make it soft to use as a wrap for food, to roast food, or as a plate to serve tourists. We have so much to do. You know, there is no limit to what we can do from just one tree breadfruit, but we have many other native trees that can feed. Canep, I've done a barbecue sauce with canep flesh, canep or guinep or whatever you guys call it. We call it chanette in Trinidad. It's just a matter of looking at what we import and finding something that we have to say, hey, listen, our money is staying in our country. You can keep your product.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. You know, it's interesting, like I said, you know, coming from the place of a psychologist, I've always thought about Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And at the very bottom of it is the physiological needs, right? And right there is food. If we don't have food, we are going to die. All the other needs are of no importance, right? But here's the thing, at the top of that pyramid is the need for self-actualization. And I know I wouldn't want to close right now without saying this. At a time when gender-based violence is out there, when many of our women are feeling disempowered, when they're feeling as if they cannot reach the top, they cannot actualize. They have to feed their families, but they also have to self-actualize. That there is that opportunity for women to go out there, to plant trees, to be involved in I'm trying to remember, it's agri-entrepreneurship. I'll just say it that way. But they can go out there, they don't have to be afraid, because once your needs are met, then you know that you will be taken care of, what we've always done. You'll be taken care of our needs as well as those of our planet, our children, our communities, just all over. So now, I thank you, ladies, and I will now pass the baton to Miss Susan Taylor Batten.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I'm fired up over here. You all, I'm sitting here in Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C., outside of the region, fired up. Thank you for that. I learned so much. I'm Susan Taylor Batten, as said. I'm on the board of the Caribbean Philanthropic Alliance and just appreciate all of the work that you're doing. I don't know what it is. I hear Beyonce in the background, right? Who runs the world? Who runs the world? And you all know their song. There's an African proverb that I love. It says, when sleeping women wake, mountains move. And we know, I work with foundations. I'm with the Association of Black Foundation Executives here in the United States. And we work with foundations around this country. And we know that if we want to build strong communities, it's about investment in women. And I think this panel just demonstrates that. I've got so many things moving through my head about how to keep this network of empowered women together and how to support you all across your countries as you feed and support and provide for your families in the region. So this was just an amazing panel. I want to thank everyone. We want to thank everyone on the panel. First, Dr. Grethel, thank you for moderating. To our panelists, Marisol, Carlene, Jerry, and Michelle, thank you so much. I've got food sovereignty in my head now. I want to lift up, there's a sister, Summer Sibley Brown, who runs the Good Food Coalition in the US Virgin Islands in St. Croix. And she talks about food justice, but now I've got food sovereignty in my head. Additional thanks to Shernette Bailey, who helped organize this conversation. Also to some powerful women as well, Andrea Molnar, with the tree planting project, our sister Lisa Bender for providing tech support always from the Lasco Chin Foundation. Thank you from me, from the full board. And I'm gonna hand it over to Amika Cogent for some closing remarks, who is the tree planting ambassador from Dominica.
Hi guys, hi. And just to correct that though, it's Amika Cognet, those who are seen, are seen. So I represent the land of 365 rivers, you know, the home of the second largest boiling lake in the world, the nature isle of the Caribbean, Dominica. I am Amika Cognet and the tree planting ambassador for Dominica under the Caribbean Philanthropic Alliance. My island is situated right in the center of the Caribbean chain. And besides being affected by tropical cyclones annually, because of our topography, we are prone to other natural disasters, such as volcanoes. We actually have the highest concentration of volcanoes in the world, as in there, and we have 9 active volcanoes on our small island. And most of them are currently dormant, as in sleeping, but we have fumaroles. We have the second largest boiling lake in the world. So they're all active, and under there at least about 2 to 10 kilometers of magma right under our soil. And so stuff like climate change affects us. Every tropical disaster that comes through the Caribbean, we get hit. So even if we don't get the full impact, we get the rain bands. We're located right in that midsection of where the trade winds pass. And so because of that, because the climate has been changing rapidly, tree planting is very critical in the day-to-day forestry and agricultural efforts here in Dominica. In order to ensure that we constantly can rebuild our forests after a storm, we constantly have to be propagating plants. And if we want to maintain our biodiversity and plant culture, Dominica strives to be the first resilient Caribbean country. And so we're hoping that we can do that. As I mentioned before, we're the land of 365 rivers. So everything about us is natural. Before we could have boasted of 60% forest cover. And right now, after tropical hurricane Maria in 2017, we have lost a lot of our canopy and a lot of trees that right now, we are trying our best to see how we can get back that 60% coverage of our island. So I would love to help build a sustainable green future of my island. And that's exactly why I am a tree planting ambassador, right? And therefore, I urge everyone in the Caribbean and everyone here who is present listening to urge your heads of government, especially here in the Caribbean, to sign a letter that the Caribbean Philanthropic Alliance has been putting around. As you can see, the letter is here they have posted it in the chat. So you can log on and sign and have your government persons in your community sign it, because we're making history and we want that the tree planting week or tree planting in itself the program can become something national or something Caribbean, you know, that way, and it can recur you after you. All right. And so we're asking persons to sign that on so that we can have this week made into an official week in the Caribbean celebrations. Our natural resources and topography are what makes us in the Caribbean special and special on the global map. Right? Tourists come for that. They come to the Caribbean just to experience our natural resources. Therefore, this week we've made a historic milestone as roughly 20 Caribbean countries are coming together to celebrate the major and common natural resource that we have, trees. So under the Caribbean Philanthropic Alliance, we have surpassed our annual target by planting over 1 billion trees thus far within the past couple of years. Therefore, we urge persons to join us in planting trees by planting trees yourself. All right, so yes, we are planting, but we want you to also plant trees. You can also assist us further in supporting our efforts by donating, becoming a volunteer or a tree planting ambassador, or buying a t-shirt from the Alba Denmark, who have been in collaboration with the Caribbean Philanthropic Alliance in terms of getting sustainable t-shirts. They're tree shirts. And by buying one, you can aid us in getting more equipment and getting more materials so that us, the ambassadors, and the Caribbean Philanthropic Alliance can continue purchasing material. That way we can plant and foster more planting going on for the generations. The link for that t-shirt is also posted in the group chat, so look out for it. And you can also share it with your friends, your families, and your different organizations, right? Just remember that every seed planted counts, and with every t-shirt bought, the tree planting efforts can be maximized. So plant a tree today, because as said by Warren Buffett, someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. Therefore, let us ensure we maintain the biodiversity of our trees in the Caribbean and keep our cultural heritage alive so that the generations after us can have the natural environment to enjoy. Plant a tree today. Thank you.
Thank you, Emika. Thank you all for coming. And we are about to close off, and we will now be listening to a song that talks about planting the trees and its importance. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Financial meltdown. That's what I'm saying. Money over food, for real. Every day we are store up vanity, yet there's a crisis on the rise. One way to preserve humanity, it's time we realize intellectualities and technologies will surely go to waste. Got to think about survival. Let's do this in a haste. Plant some trees. Food crisis on the horizon. Plant some seeds. Plant it in and out of season. Plant some trees. It's time to start the mission. Plant some seeds. Whoa, yo, 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 yo. Politicians don't have the answer. We change them every time. Even though we make the change, things remain the same. Will they tell us the truth? IMF is not the solution. Will they tell us the truth? We need this revolution. Will they tell us the truth? We control our destiny. The only solution is production and the science of self-reliance. Plant some trees. Food crisis on the horizon. Plant some seeds. Got to plant them out of season. Plant some trees. It's time to start the mission. Plant some seeds. Plant it in and out of season. Global financial meltdown put the whole world in a spin. These great financial wizards couldn't see this coming. Now we know the truth, got to take it to the root. Now we know the truth, we got to grow the fruit. Now we know the truth, this wealth won't get us back. As the rain fall from the sky, without the food you die. Plant some trees. Food
Yeah, as soon as they finish this song, finish, you can just shut down the Facebook. And then I see everybody hanging around, so we can just talk after.
Food crisis on the horizon.
Okay, so we have to shut everything down. That's it, I'm hanging around, it's okay.
Food crisis on the horizon.
They're gonna go into chatting now.
In and out of season. Some trees.